What is up, guys? It is Bucky and welcome to your second Objective-C tutorial. And in this tutorial, in the last tutorial we opened this program and we ran it, and in this tutorial we're going to be understanding what this program means and also adding just a little bit of code. So the first thing I want to point out, and the first thing that you guys should know, is something called a comment. Now, we have one comment in here by default that Xcode gave us, and it says insert code here. Now what a comment is it's just something that the user can insert that doesn't affect the program at all. You can add one comment or 100 comments. It doesn't affect the program at all. The only purpose of a comment is to make it easier to read or understand. So, for example, you can write insert code here, or you can write my name is Bucky, and you can write as many of these comments as you want. And say you have a huge program and you made some weird method, you can write a comment to tell you what the method does. But we'll be going over this later on. But anyways, if you add two forward slashes and put some text, this is a single line comment. And there's also something called a multiple line comment, which is you do forward slash, then asterisk, forward slash, asterisk, and then have some text, and do asterisk forward slash, and this is a comment if you want to write it on multiple lines. But like I said, we're not going to be commenting anything because what we're going to be doing is kind of simple. I just had to show you guys what a comment was in case you came across them in like any books or anything. So now let's go ahead and start understanding what this program means. There's a lot of extra stuff that we really don't care about, but I know you guys are going to be like, alright, just tell me what it means anyways because I'm curious. Well, the first thing right here, I'll go line by line. The first thing is called an import statement or import state. Well, it's just called an import. And what this is basically there was certain stuff that you have to do on every program, and it took up a bunch of lines. So whenever you see import, it pretty much means include other bit of code and put it in this program. So developers got kind of aggravated of having to type the same stuff over and over and over again. So what they did is they put it in a file called Foundation H, and what you have to do is just import that file, and then it says, alright, instead of typing all this, I'm just going to import this one big file. So this is actually a file that was already created for us by some awesome people, so we don't have to type an extra bit of code. So anytime importing a file is pretty much just using another bit of code from somewhere else. We'll learn more about that later on. Now, the next thing you see is this int main, and this is actually the entire method that's wrapped. You see, this is called, your function header, and these are arguments right here, and this is the function statement. Now, let me explain. A computer program, all it is it's built up of a bunch of functions. So if I was a computer program, one of my functions would be brush my teeth. One of my functions would be drive a car. One of my functions would be brush my teeth again or eat food or something. So if I have all this stuff, then and I ran it in a computer program, it would be like, alright, you got all this stuff to do, but where do you want me to begin? Well, main is a special function that says, alright, if we have 100 functions, we want you to start with this one. So this pretty much, the keyword main gives the computer program a starting point of where to start. So later on when we build 10 more functions, it always starts at main. And since we have one, you'll be kind of confused maybe, but you'll see later on when we have more functions. And like I said, inside a function is a bunch of these things called statements, and you see each one of them ends with a semicolon. What a statement is pretty much a bit of instructions. So you have a function, and inside the function is just a set of instructions. So for example, if I had a function, which this one's called main, but if I was programming a robot, I would make a function called make a grilled cheese sandwich. And its first statement would be get out the bread. Its second statement would be put butter on the bread. Third one, fry the cheese. And the fourth one would be eat it. So you have a main function, which is like a main task, and these statements are like separate bits of instruction telling you what to do, and they each must end with a semicolon. So now let's go over what each of these statements mean real quick. This one, again, the exact syntax we'll be getting into later on, but NS auto release pool, this pretty much creates a pool of memory. So you need to reserve some memory in order to run your program. So it's pretty much your program saying, hey, iMac, I heard you got some memory. And your iMac's like, yeah, what of it? I got like 10 gigabytes. And then your program's like, well, I have this awesome program here, so let me borrow some memory. I'll give it back later. And then your iMac's all like, alright, here you go. And that's pretty much what pool does. Kind of reserves memory or rents it from your computer. Now, an NS log, the next statement, now that we have our memory, this is pretty much something to log information or display it on your screen. So anything that goes in the parentheses of NS log is just going to be printed out on your screen. In this little @ sign, if you didn't have the @ it would be a different kind. It would be a C string, and this is not going to make sense, but an @ sign, it's just proper coding for an NS log. So this NS log, all you need to know is it prints out stuff on the screen. So this one stores memory or reserves it. This one prints stuff on the screen. So now that we created our pool, why the heck are we draining it? Well, what this means is you're pretty much saying, hey, we're done with the memory, I'm going to drain it, and then your computer's like, alright, thanks for the memory back. So this one says, alright, we need some memory, do some crap right here, and then once we're done with the memory, we got to give it back. I mean, it's only fair. We got to drain it, and we'll be going over those keywords later on, but this is the basics. And lastly, every function has a return value. This integer means, alright, I have this function called main, and I'm going to need something back. I'm going to need an integer back. Well, what this statement right here says is, alright, I'm going to return the value of 0 back. Every function has to return something. Well, there's void, but we'll get into that later on. And when you return 0 in a computer program, it means that everything went perfect. So, for example, you might have a check earlier on in the program, and you might return nothing at all and not 0, or another number aside from 0. And your computer automatically knows if it gets anything aside from 0, if it gets a letter or any other number, then something effed up. So it's looking for the 0, and if it doesn't get it, you're going to get some error messages. So if you finally get to this return 0, it says, alright, this went good, this went good, this went good. I can finally return 0, which is pretty much my program telling the computer, alright, this program went good, it ended normally. So the last thing that I want to mention, well, that's pretty much good enough for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'll mention some other stuff. But I mean, we had a pretty good run in this tutorial. So that's pretty much the basics of what this program means. And I know you guys are probably still confused, but later on when we get programming, it'll all make sense, I promise, when we actually use it. So for now, thank you guys for watching this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.